Here we're going to look at an example of what it is like in the real world to buy a house. So in order to do this, one of the things that you have to be aware of is the different components that actually go into buying a house. So some of those components being the purchase price. So the purchase price is the price that you see, like say, on the internet, whether it's Zillow or any of the other rent or buying websites. Every house is listed for an actual purchase price. Now, there's a down payment. So the down payment is just as it sounds. It is the amount of money that you have decided that you are going to put up front when purchasing your house. Now, the biggest thing that you have to keep in mind is that if you choose to make a down payment, typically you want to choose to make a down payment between 10 and 20%. If you make a down payment below 20%, then not only will you have your mortgage, but you are also going to have what's called a PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. So the private mortgage insurance is an insurance that gets incorporated into your mortgage until you reach owning 20% of your property. So essentially it's the insurance that you are going to continue to make the house payments, and that you're not going to go into, say, a foreclosure or anything on your property. Now, in terms of actually paying for your house, there's a few things that you have to keep in mind. First is the actual mortgage. So the mortgage is what you would pay on your house as your monthly payment based on the purchase price. Now, what also goes into your mortgage are the other fees that occur. So some of those fees can be your escrow. It can also be any points that you chose to buy. So essentially what a point is it's an added fee that you pay to your lender in exchange for lowering your interest rate. Typically, 1 point is equal to 1% of the mortgage. So those are fees that you kind of would pay at your closing to try and lower your interest rate so that over time you have a smaller percent interest that's occurring. The last thing is the actual closing cost. Now the closing cost is a cost on top of everything else. It's what you need to pay in order to finalize. Usually your closing costs will occur somewhere between 2 and 5% of your purchase price. And that closing cost is going to include not only any down payment that you choose, but it also includes the lender fees, your property taxes, and the homeowner's insurance. Now usually that homeowner's insurance that you pay in your closing cost is roughly 6 months of your homeowner's insurance fees. Okay, so all of that gets paid up front and all of that is added on. So what we're going to look at in this example is how all of that stuff actually gets applied and gets calculated. Okay, so if you're in the market for purchasing a house, you can use this idea to actually calculate your costs on your own, to give you a rough idea of where you stand before you actually say sign papers to buy a house. So the scenario is this: Jeremy is buying a house for $195,900. He plans to make a 15% down payment, but since the payment is less than the standard 20, he will have to pay for the PMI that costs 0.6% of the mortgage amount and will be included in closing costs. Other closing cost includes $515 for 6 months of homeowner's insurance, $1,575 for 6 months of property taxes, $125 for the title fee, and $550 in transaction fees. Jeremy has also agreed to pay 3 points in exchange for a 0.75% reduction in the interest rate. So the first part wants you to determine the mortgage. So determining the mortgage is simply determining the cost of the house. Okay, so the first thing that we have to look at is you're doing a down payment. So the down payment is 15%, so we're going to do 0.15 times your purchase price, $195,900. Okay. So when you do that, we're going to come out with a down payment amount of $29,385. So essentially, to find your mortgage is we are going to take the purchase price, so $195,900, and we're going to subtract that down payment, $29,385. And that's going to give you the mortgage, i.e. the financed piece of that house. So here we're going to come up with $166,515. So that is the actual mortgage. Now with that, the second part wants you to determine the money that's going to be used at closing costs. So this is where we're going to incorporate everything else. So the first thing we have to look at is what do we need to calculate. So first, we need to calculate your fees and taxes, and we're going to look for your total fees and taxes. We are then going to look at your points, and we're going to look at the PMI. So all of those are going to be what needs to go into it. So your fees and taxes are just that. So if we look back up at the problem, we can identify some of these fees and taxes. So first of all, we have the $515 for 6 months of homeowners insurance. Okay, so if we're trying to calculate, the first thing we would do is we would take that I have $515 as part of my fees. I also have $1,575 for 6 months as a property tax, so I'm going to add in $1,575. I then have $125 for the title fee, so I need to add in that $125. And then I have $550 in transaction fees, so I'm going to add in that $550. So these are all the fees that showed up in the problem. So what we're going to do is we need to just add all of that together, and we end up with a total of $2,765 in transaction fees. Okay. Now the second part has to deal with points. So here, one of the things that we have is that you're going to pay 3 points in exchange for 0.75 reduction. Okay. So we have that we're going to do 3% of the mortgage. So here, what this is going to be is we're going to do 3%, so this is 0.03 times your mortgage, $166,515, and that is going to give you your points, how much you're paying. And so this is going to be $4,995.45. So that is the total that you're paying for your points. Okay. Now the PMI was up earlier, so here you have to pay a PMI that's going to cost 0.6% of the mortgage amount. And the reason for that is because you're only paying a down payment of 15%, and 20% is that magic number. So here what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take 0.6% of the mortgage. So here this is going to be 0.006 times your mortgage, $166,515, and that means you are going to pay $999.09 for your PMI. Okay, so when we're looking at all of this, we have to calculate the total amount. So essentially your closing cost is going to be your down payment plus your points plus the PMI plus your fees and taxes. So we have to add all of that up together. Okay. So here your down payment was $29,385. Your points was $4,995.45. Your PMI was $999.09. And your taxes and fees was $2,765. So when we add all of that up, your closing costs are going to come to $38,144.54. Okay. So essentially what that means is that the day that you go to sign the papers and get your keys, you would have to bring a check for $38,144.54. Okay. Alright, so that is kind of an in-depth example on what goes in to purchasing that house of your dreams. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.